Boyd's recordings are hardly the first time an alleged Bigfoot sound was captured. Made in the early 1970s, the Sierra sound recordings are touted as the gold standard of evidence for Bigfoot language.
Deep in the shadowy forests of North America, where trees stretch endlessly and mist cloaks every branch, whispers of a mysterious creature persist. Locals call it Bigfoot, a towering figure, shrouded in thick fur, with eyes that gleam like molten embers in the darkness. For centuries, it has remained elusive, appearing just long enough to send chills down the spines of those brave enough to wander these woods, before vanishing into the shadows. In August 2019, a quiet town in North Carolina became the backdrop for one of the most chilling encounters on record. Doug Teague, accompanied only by his loyal dog Daisy, set out to check trail cameras hidden deep in the woods surrounding his home. What began as a routine errand quickly spiraled into an encounter that Doug would never forget. The woods were eerily silent that day. As Doug moved deeper into the forest, he heard it, a rhythmic knocking, distant but deliberate. It wasn't the erratic pecking of a woodpecker or the random crack of a branch. This sound felt intentional, almost as if something was signaling him. Through the dense underbrush, Doug spotted it, a massive figure, barely visible, standing impossibly tall. It was covered in matted fur, its broad shoulders and thick limbs silhouetted against the forest floor. Doug fumbled for his phone.
I think this is the left and right footprint. I think we've got two here, a juvenile and an adult. This is a huge find. I can't believe this.
His hands shaking as he began recording. He didn't know what he was looking at, but it wasn't a bear. It wasn't any animal he'd ever seen in North Carolina. Before Doug could process what he was seeing, the creature threw stones toward him. The rocks landed with heavy thuds, as though warning him to keep his distance. Doug backed away, his camera still recording as the creature retreated into the shadows. Later, Doug would find enormous footprints near the encounter site. These prints, cast and preserved as evidence, measured far larger than any human or known animal. An anthropologist suggested the creature could have been over 15 feet tall. While skeptics dismissed the footage as a hoax, others saw something chillingly authentic in Doug's trembling voice and the physical evidence he presented. The wilderness in California. Doug's encounter was not an isolated event. In 2020, a hiker exploring California's San Gabriel wilderness captured something equally bizarre. As he panned his camera across the forest, a strange shape emerged between the trees. The figure, towering and motionless, sent shivers down his spine. It was huge, at least 10 feet tall, and appeared to be watching him. There had been no previous history of Bigfoot sightings in that area, yet the footage was undeniable. Skeptics argued it could be a trick of the light, but believers saw a clear silhouette of a towering creature. 2 years earlier, another hiker in California's San Bernardino Mountains described an even more unsettling encounter.
Hang on, up the hill a little bit.
What the is that?
We got a target here. Came up from behind a tree.
That is not Maria, is it?
That is not Maria.
What the
High in the trees, she noticed a shadowy figure. At first, she thought it was a trick of the light, but then its head moved. When she got closer, she realized it wasn't a shadow. It was alive. Its head turned toward her, and that's when she knew it was no bear. These sightings are part of a growing body of evidence, suggesting that Bigfoot might not only exist, but be far more widespread than previously believed. The discovery on Mount Everest. Not all encounters occur in the forests of North America. In 1951, high on the slopes of Mount Everest, a famed explorer made a discovery that would puzzle the world for decades. At an altitude of 19,000 feet, a single footprint was found pressed into the snow. Measuring 13 inches long, it resembled that of a large primate. The conditions at that altitude made it impossible for any known animal to survive, let alone leave such a clear imprint. While skeptics dismissed it as a natural formation, others saw it as undeniable evidence of the Yeti, Bigfoot's distant cousin. The incident in northern Illinois. In 2015, deep in the woods of northern Illinois, a man out foraging for mushrooms came across something extraordinary. He saw a massive footprint embedded in the damp earth. It was 12 inches wide. Part of it looked like something had taken a bite out of it. Another nearby print held water in its deep indent, an eerie detail that gave the scene an almost living quality. The hunter recorded his findings, uploading the footage online. While some called it a hoax, others pointed to the haunting sounds captured in the background, eerie whoops and howls that defied explanation. Evidence in England. The phenomenon isn't confined to North America. In England's Cannock Chase Forest, massive footprints were discovered, each measuring 41 centimeters long. They were twice the size of a human's, far too large for any known animal in the area. A month later, a grisly scene was uncovered, a deer carcass with its throat torn out and deep bite wounds covering its body. The evidence suggested a predator far larger than any local wildlife. The site also bore deep claw marks gouged into a tree. The markings, coupled with the massive footprints, pointed to something powerful and unknown. These findings fueled speculation about whether such creatures could truly exist or if these were simply extraordinary coincidences. The Siberian encounter. In 2013, deep in the snowy wilderness of Siberia, 3 students on a routine adventure encountered something extraordinary. As they wandered through the dense forest, they came across enormous footprints that seemed to lead somewhere. Armed with only a mobile phone, they decided to follow the trail. The footprints led them deeper into the woods until they were no more than 15 meters away from a large, towering creature. It stood motionless, its silhouette blending into the trees, but its sheer size was undeniable. The students were frozen in fear, unable to approach further. Suddenly, the creature moved, retreating into the dense forest before disappearing entirely. The blurry but chilling images captured by the students sparked global interest. Experts analyzing the footage found no signs of manipulation but couldn't definitively identify the creature. While some speculated it could be the Yeti, others believed it was something even more elusive, adding another piece to the ever-growing Bigfoot puzzle. The kayaker's revelation. In 2021, a lone kayaker paddling through a remote river in Michigan experienced a close encounter. As he drifted along the tranquil waters, he noticed a large humanoid figure crossing the river ahead of him. The creature was covered in light brown fur and appeared to be carrying a smaller one, possibly a juvenile. The kayaker managed to film the encounter from a distance. The video showed the creature's massive frame and deliberate movements as it waded through the water. The isolation of the location made the sighting even more compelling. This was no popular hiking trail or park, but a remote stretch of wilderness, far from human activity. As the footage circulated, skeptics questioned its authenticity, pointing to the familiar graininess often seen in such videos. However, believers argued that the size, posture, and movements of the creature were too natural to dismiss. The kayaker's account and the accompanying video added to the mounting evidence that something extraordinary may exist in these hidden corners of the world. Strange signs in remote forests. Throughout the years, reports of unexplainable events in remote locations have continued to surface. Broken branches, claw marks on trees, and eerie sounds echoing through the night are recurring themes. Wildlife cameras have captured mysterious, muscular figures standing in the shadows, their features blurred but their presence undeniable. In one notable case, a wildlife camera in North Carolina unintentionally captured an image of a robust, muscular figure standing starkly against the forest backdrop. Enhanced analysis of the grainy image revealed elongated limbs and an unusual posture, sparking debates about whether it was a bear, a human, or something entirely unknown. As experts examined the footage, no conclusive explanation emerged, leaving the mystery unresolved. The Patterson-Gimlin film. In 1967, one of the most iconic pieces of evidence in the Bigfoot mystery was captured in Northern California near Bluff Creek. Roger Patterson and Bob Gimlin were exploring the area on horseback when they encountered a creature that would become synonymous with Bigfoot lore. Patterson quickly grabbed his camera and began filming. The resulting footage shows a large, ape-like creature walking upright along a sandbar. Its fur was dark and matted, and its movements appeared deliberate and natural. The creature briefly turned to look at the camera before disappearing into the forest. The film's authenticity has been debated for decades, with experts analyzing the gait, proportions, and muscle movements of the figure. While skeptics argue it could have been a person in a costume, others maintain that the level of detail, including visible muscle movement, would have been impossible to fake with the technology available at the time. The Patterson-Gimlin film remains one of the most compelling and controversial pieces of evidence in the search for Bigfoot. The Mount St. Helens incident. Long before the Patterson-Gimlin film, reports of Bigfoot-like creatures had already begun to surface. In 1924, a group of gold miners near Mount St. Helens in Washington claimed they were attacked by ape men. The miners reported hearing strange noises outside their cabin before discovering several large, hairy figures watching them from the woods. That night, the creatures reportedly began hurling rocks at the cabin, attempting to break in. The miners fired their guns in defense, and the creatures eventually retreated. The miners' account, though sensational, added to the growing folklore surrounding Bigfoot. Their descriptions of the creature's size and behavior closely align with modern reports, lending credibility to their story. The face in the window. In 2016, a resident of Bailey, Colorado, experienced a chilling encounter that would stay with him for years. Late one night, strange sounds outside his home prompted him to look out the window. What he saw left him frozen in fear. A large, hairy face stared back at him, its features disturbingly human-like. Initially, he thought it might be a bear, but as he studied the face, he realized it was something entirely different. The figure lingered for a moment before disappearing into the darkness. The resident later shared his story with local researchers, who found large footprints near the property. This encounter added another puzzle piece to the growing body of evidence, suggesting that these creatures might go closer to human habitats than previously believed. The Albert Ostman abduction. One of the most bizarre and detailed accounts of Bigfoot interaction comes from Albert Ostman, a prospector who claimed he was abducted by a family of Bigfoot in 1924. According to Ostman, while camping in the Canadian wilderness, he was suddenly carried off in his sleeping bag by an enormous hairy creature. He eventually found himself in a secluded area where a family of Bigfoot, 2 adults and 2 juveniles, kept him captive for 6 days. Ostman described the creatures as having distinct features that were both human-like and ape-like. The adult male was enormous, towering over 8 feet tall, with massive hands and deep-set eyes. The female was slightly smaller, and the juveniles behaved much like curious children. Ostman claimed they communicated with each other using grunts and gestures. Despite his fear, he noted that the creatures never harmed him and even offered him food. After days of observing their behavior, Ostman devised a plan to escape. Using a tin of snuff as a distraction, he managed to slip away while the creatures were preoccupied. Though his story was met with skepticism, Ostman maintained his account for the rest of his life, adding another layer to the mystery surrounding Bigfoot. Additional theories and speculations. Despite the compelling evidence, theories about Bigfoot's nature and origin remain diverse and polarizing. Some researchers propose that Bigfoot could be a relic hominid, a species that survived extinction and continued to thrive in remote areas. This theory is supported by the physical descriptions that match known species of early human ancestors, such as Gigantopithecus, a massive ape that lived millions of years ago. Supporters of this theory argue that vast, uninhabited forests provide the perfect habitat for such a creature to evade detection. Others suggest that Bigfoot may not be a biological entity at all, but rather a paranormal phenomenon. Sightings often coincide with reports of unexplained lights, eerie sounds, or even UFO activity. This has led to theories that Bigfoot could be an interdimensional being, capable of appearing and disappearing at will, which might explain its elusive nature. Skeptics, however, attribute Bigfoot sightings to hoaxes, misidentified wildlife, or psychological factors. They argue that the human mind is prone to seeing patterns, especially in unfamiliar settings, leading people to interpret natural phenomena as extraordinary encounters. Additionally, advancements in technology and access to digital tools have made it easier to fabricate convincing evidence, further muddying the waters. The role of cultural narratives. Bigfoot's place in cultural folklore cannot be overlooked. Indigenous tribes across North America have long spoken of large, hairy creatures inhabiting the wilderness. Known by various names, Sasquatch, Yeti, and Skookum, these beings are often depicted as guardians of nature, watching over the land and its inhabitants. Their stories suggest a deep respect for the creatures, blending myth and reality in ways that goes beyond scientific inquiry. Modern media has also played a significant role in shaping perceptions of Bigfoot. Television shows, movies, and documentaries have brought the creature into the global spotlight, transforming it into a symbol of mystery and adventure. This widespread fascination has fueled numerous expeditions and investigations, keeping the legend alive in popular consciousness. Advances in research and technology. The search for Bigfoot has evolved significantly with advancements in technology. Sophisticated trail cameras, drones, and thermal imaging devices have been employed to capture evidence in remote areas. DNA analysis has also become a crucial tool, allowing researchers to test hair, scat, and other biological samples for traces of unknown species. While many results have been inconclusive, the potential for breakthrough discoveries remains a driving force in the field. Citizen scientists and amateur enthusiasts have also contributed to the growing database of evidence. Online platforms and social media allow for real-time sharing of sightings, photographs, and videos, creating a global network of Bigfoot researchers. This collaborative approach has brought new perspectives and methodologies to the search, bridging the gap between professional scientists and passionate hobbyists. Bigfoot in global context. The legend of Bigfoot is not confined to North America. Similar creatures have been reported across the globe, each with its own cultural and regional significance. In the Himalayas, the Yeti is a revered figure, often associated with spiritual beliefs and ancient traditions. In Australia, the Yowie shares striking similarities with Bigfoot, described as a large ape-like creature inhabiting remote bushland. In South America, tales of the Mapinguari, a giant hairy creature with backward-facing feet, mirror Bigfoot lore. These global accounts suggest that the phenomenon may not be isolated, but part of a broader mystery surrounding the natural world. Whether these creatures are connected or independent manifestations of local folklore, they highlight humanity's lasting fascination with the unknown. Patterns of Bigfoot behavior. One aspect that has fascinated researchers is the repeated patterns in reported Bigfoot behavior. Across decades of sightings, certain traits stand out, giving credence to the idea that these creatures might be consistent in their habits. Bigfoot is often described as shy and elusive, avoiding direct interaction with humans. When sightings occur, they frequently include auditory signs such as tree knocking or eerie howls that seem to carry warnings. The use of tree knocking, thought to be a form of communication or territory marking, has been observed in diverse regions. Researchers attempting to interact with Bigfoot have mimicked these knocks and occasionally received responses, suggesting a form of intelligent awareness. Similarly, rock throwing, as Doug Teague experienced in North Carolina, has been reported in various encounters. This act is interpreted as a warning, displaying a defensive nature rather than outright aggression. Bigfoot's apparent ability to move silently through dense forests, despite its massive size, adds to its mystique. Witnesses often report the sudden cessation of forest sounds before an encounter, a phenomenon that researchers believe might indicate a predatory instinct or natural camouflage ability. Ecological significance and habitat. If Bigfoot is real, understanding its ecological role could shed light on its elusive nature. Bigfoot is often associated with dense, old-growth forests that offer abundant resources and natural cover. The Pacific Northwest, known for its vast, untamed wilderness, has long been a hotspot for sightings. However, similar environments across the globe, from the Siberian taiga to the Australian bush, seem to support analogous creatures, suggesting that such habitats are crucial to their survival. Biologists theorize that Bigfoot, like large primates, may be omnivorous, relying on a mix of plant material, insects, and small animals. Scattered reports of creatures raiding gardens, taking livestock, or even leaving fish remnants near streams align with this idea. If true, Bigfoot could play an integral but hidden role in its ecosystem, perhaps as a top predator or a seed disperser, much like bears or gorillas. Historical accounts and early evidence. Bigfoot lore isn't a modern invention. Historical records from indigenous cultures, early settlers, and explorers point to a lasting fascination with large, mysterious forest dwellers. Indigenous stories often describe Bigfoot-like beings as guardians or protectors of nature. These creatures, though feared, were respected and viewed as a crucial part of the natural world. In North America, early colonists recorded encounters with wild men of the woods, describing them as massive, hairy beings with uncanny strength. Such reports parallel legends from other parts of the world. In Nepal, for instance, accounts of the Yeti, a creature inhabiting the snowy Himalayas, date back centuries. Explorers in the 19th century frequently returned with tales of encountering strange footprints or hearing chilling calls in remote areas. One of the earliest scientific investigations into these accounts came in the mid-20th century, when zoologists and anthropologists began collecting footprints, hair samples, and eyewitness testimonies. While conclusive evidence remained elusive, these studies established a framework for future Bigfoot research. The role of technology in Bigfoot research. Modern technology has revolutionized the search for Bigfoot. Trail cameras, capable of capturing images day and night, have become indispensable tools. These cameras are strategically placed in remote areas where sightings are frequent. While they have occasionally captured fascinating images, skeptics argue that the lack of definitive photographic evidence weakens Bigfoot's case. Drones equipped with thermal imaging have expanded researchers' reach, allowing them to scan dense forests from above. This technology has produced heat signatures that seem to match descriptions of Bigfoot, but the lack of physical follow-up keeps the findings in the realm of speculation. Similarly, audio equipment has recorded unexplained vocalizations resembling howls, screams, and knocks, adding another layer of mystery.